Hey everybody, it's Shark Scrapper. Well, before I go bug-eyed from all this conduit piling up, I need to get it processed. Come on, let's dive in and see how it's done. All right, it's conduit time. Hey everybody, it's the Shark. I am going to process some conduit and some of the wire that comes out of the conduit. Well, that's mainly what I'm doing, is processing the wire that comes out of the conduit. So when I set up to do this, I try to get everything in place. You know, it's funny, my wife is a chef, and they have a term in the food industry called mise en place. All right, so it's having all your stuff in place. And so what you see is the scrapper's equivalent of mise en place. I have my bucket for copper. So there's my Bear Bright down inside there. I have I have a container for aluminum wire. This particular conduit that I'm working on has an aluminum ground wire in it. There is my wire stripper. I really like that. It's a real good one. And you can get this on Amazon, by the way. 1/4 horsepower motor, blade shield, adjustable blade inside here. I've been using this for quite a while now. Real nice model. You know, it's like $200 or something like that. All right, and then a trash bucket for the insulation. The other thing that you'll see, of course, are my gloves, my snippers, edge cutters. Over here, this trash can is where the conduit's going to go into. You've seen me use this in a previous video. That was the conduit that was loaded with wire. I've pulled it out now, and I'll put the empty conduit in here after I pull the wire out of it. All right, so here's a typical piece of conduit that I get from the construction dumpsters, and it's, you know, it'll just be in various lengths. You know, you take the good with the bad, right? Loosen you up. Okay, so what we're doing is getting enough wire exposed that we can get a good grip on it to pull it out of the conduit. Once you get it going, it'll open up pretty quick there. All right, trim off a couple ends. Let's go back here where we have a big enough piece to grab hold of it. All right, and see if it wants to come through now. Still doesn't want to cooperate. That's right, it happens. Let's go ahead and try stepping on it. There we go. So by stepping on the wire, now that allowed me to get enough force on it to pull it through. Empty conduit, wire. All right. You go down there. Now what I do with these longer pieces is coil them inside the bucket. The shorter pieces, here we go. Now the shorter pieces I can cut up or bend or whatever to take up the space down inside the bucket. There you go. All right, so now you can see this wire has 3 insulated coppers and a run of aluminum ground wire. I like the aluminum ground wire because I'm going to save that up to do aluminum melts, pours, you know, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. And then the insulated copper wire, of course, we are going to take down to Bear Bright. Now, this particular conduit is also, it's heavier gauge, which is fine. Heavier than one of the other big ones usual ones that I find. But it's also got extra insulation in it, so it's really kind of a pain in the patoot. Now then, aluminum. Now I know I'm working the aluminum ground wire. It's very clear. You can see there's additional paper insulation in here. That untwisted as well. So this is why it might make more sense to trim this down a little bit. I'm leaving this one long right now just because I want to show you what this stripper is capable of handling. I'm going to show you when I get done wrestling with this one how I normally stage this wire so that I'm not wrestling with such long pieces. But this was a nice long piece to show you what the wire stripper is, so some of the capability of the wire stripper. All right, come on now, we almost there? Wow. I got to be honest with you, I like this wire. I like when I find this conduit at construction sites because it's a real good source for what becomes bare bright. There's a lot of it. The electricians are happy for me to take it away. You know, it's just a little bit of my time to process it like this. Frequently, I will find just the wire and just pieces of empty conduit. So I find it in all different stages. All right, let's go ahead and start from this end now and just give it a little twist. Now that we're almost done, there we go. Okay, so here's the aluminum. There's my aluminum container, my aluminum wire container. All right, now I like to cut it just a little bit smaller than the container so that the pieces all fall in nicely. I don't really care, you know, I'm not being precise with the sizes. In fact, having some randomness to the sizes is good because that way it actually fills up better. At some point I'll have to transfer this to a larger bucket, but right now this is sufficient. Okay, now let's go ahead and get this thrown away and untwist the rest of this stuff. Working outside with this wire is useful because that way you've got room to sling it around as you see me doing. If you're in a garage or something, you'll want to trim it down definitely because otherwise it's just going to bang into stuff, snag up on stuff. Be difficult to work with. And I trim it up anyway, as you'll see in just a few minutes. So I had the roof replaced. That stain that you see there on the driveway is bleeding off of the new roof. So there's something about the material in the new roof that needs to get cleaned off after a few rainstorms. And I'm going to have to clean that so that nobody gets upset about me having a dirty driveway. Yes, I live in a neighborhood with an HOA, and it is a good thing and a bad thing, you know. Good thing is it keeps the home values up. Bad thing is it's a pain in the patoot sometimes dealing with them. Overall, they're not that bad. I've dealt with worse. And I understand why they're doing what they do, so it makes it easy. I find that by cooperating with them, I have had very few problems. Okay, now let's get the paper off of here. So now I have three very long pieces. Get this cleaned up. All right, so you can see now I've got 3 very long pieces of insulated wire. The way I normally try to do this is cut it up in lengths that will fit inside one of my bins. As you can see, I've got some that are a little bit long right now. This was my latest haul, and I haven't finished trimming stuff down. But normally I'll trim it so it fits inside of this bin, and now I have manageable sizes that I can work with. It's all going to get trimmed down anyway, so that's just, you know, so it's not like it's extra work. Okay, this is a real nice wire stripper. It's got 2 sizes of shield inlet, using the small one is already lined up. And the only problem I've had is, as you just saw, sometimes the end likes to go into the motor. So I need to be careful when I first feed it through to make sure it doesn't get jammed up in the motor opening. Because sometimes it'll go right up in there and get caught up in the motor itself. All right. Now we have a nice stripped wire, and I've got it set just about right. It might be a little bit deep, but this black wire has an extra layer of insulation on it. And so what I found is that the black wire in this type of conduit is the one that will cause me some trouble with, that it might not cut all the way through. So I set it maybe a little bit deep, but not that bad. Okay. Now the way I like to do this is I just hold it over the bucket. I put my finger out here like this, snip, pull it through, snip. All right, again, I'm getting somewhat randomized sizes, but they're somewhat consistent, and I have a little bit of control of the wire going in, and we're just filling up the bucket. Cruiser Mac. This is my second container of wire. The other container is not a 5-gallon bucket, so don't worry, I don't think I've got you beat, but this is not my only container of Bear Bright. I have some more. Okay, now we just keep repeating that process. You saw that the length of the wire was a little longer than my truck. No problem at all feeding it through. Start the motor. Now, instead of looking at it from this end, I want you to watch it from the other end here to see what I mean by having to catch it so that it doesn't jam into the motor. So it's going to come out, and I just give it a little bit of a point off to the side. Otherwise, it will go up in there and jam up the motor. That's the one problem I've had with this thing so far. As you could see, it easily handled that, and I could have probably, you know, had a spool of wire running through here, and it would just keep on going to town on it. So, now we just pull the insulation off of this. And we get to cutting again. This is when I feel like a machine. Good chunk. Good chunk, good chunk, good chunk, good chunk. This used to be a barrel that I used for brewing beer. A duct tape was a hole for one of the spouts. Got a tape on the side, temperature tape on the side. See right here? So it goes up to 80 degrees, and we're over 80. We're about 88 degrees today, so that's why you're not seeing this lit up. Yeah, I used to brew my own beer. That was one of my buckets.